Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Frankie. This week I decided to switch it up a little bit. Instead of doing a general weekly reading, I decided that we could do a pick a card reading. So if you've never seen one of these before, basically what I did was I pulled four cards for four different groups. So before we get into the messages of this week for you, which are what is it that you should be focusing on right now? I realized, or my guides spoke to me and said, right now we're spending a lot of time alone, indoors, away from work. So I was just thinking like, I should probably switch it up to be a little bit more sensitive to those groups. A lot of us are out of our routine, and maybe a weekly general reading doesn't really resonate as much. So I've decided to try it this way. So before we get into the messages, what I want you to do is take a moment, pause the video, take a deep breath, maybe like 3 or 4 deep grounding breaths. And I want you to focus on what number calls to you. Are you group number 1? Are you group number 2, 3, or 4? And then once you do that, you can go ahead and push play again. And depending on how long the video is, or just probably period, I'll probably post like the minute in which your group shows up. So you don't have to like watch the entire video to wait for the messages for your group, so you'll know exactly where you need to get started. So for group number 1, if that is the group that you chose, the cards that I pulled for group number 1 are Justice, the 7 of Cups, and the 4 of Cups. If you're wondering what deck that I'm using, because I'm sure you think it's so beautiful, just like I do, this is from UUSI Design Studios. Let me make sure, yeah. And this is called the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. And I've been really working with this deck because if you notice, there's less people in it as aside from like the major arcana cards. And I just feel like it's really helping me focus more on the intuitive messages that are coming through for you guys. So anyway, with these 3 cards, one of the messages that came through is that during this time, it is time to really focus on your decision-making process. So, and the reason I say that is because Justice is all about logical thinking, weighing out the pros and cons. If you've been watching previous videos, I know that she has come up for some of us before. The 7 of Cups represents like an time in our lives when we're maybe faced with too many options, too many decisions to make, or maybe there's just like too many ideas and we're just not really sure what to focus on or what to move forward. And then the 4 of Cups kind of represents taking a moment to really step back, step away from everything else that's going on, and then just really sit with ourselves and contemplate what our next move is. So getting into a little bit more of the details and how that plays out. When it comes to the 4 of Cups, this is usually embodied with somebody who is not wanting to take what is being offered to them, whether that be advice, whether it be an idea, whether it be help. So what this is saying is like, maybe it's time to stop trying to make all of these decisions on your own. Maybe it's time to maybe seek that outside guidance and being open to what it is that you are receiving. Another thing that came through was also being a little bit more realistic with your thought process, with your goals, the things that you want to execute in your life, the moves that you want to make, because the 7 of Cups can also come through for somebody who is just kind of wishful thinking, like, oh, like this will happen and I don't have to worry about it. In this case, yes, we do Ultimately, we do want to trust in the universe, and we do want to trust that God or the universe or the divine will provide what it is that we need. However, God, the universe, and the divine also rely on us to make those necessary decisions and make those necessary moves so that we can allow those things to come into our lives. For example, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get your dream job. You're not going to get that $10,000 check or whatever it is that you're trying to manifest by simply staying at home. And I know that right now we're being forced to stay at home, but we have technology now. You know, this isn't the dark ages where we can't do things from our house. So being a little bit more creative with that process as well. And another reason why I say that was because if you, in this deck, the one cup that is separated from all of the others that are a little bit more elevated is sitting on a cloud. So, you know, are you really trying to level up with the rest of the cups and trying to achieve your higher self? Or are you kind of just floating on a cloud, waiting for things to just kind of miraculously happen or things to just like miraculously fall into your lap? Or are you really making those necessary decisions and moves to make those things happen? So maybe now it's time to maybe get off of that cloud, get out of your head, get out of your dream state, and really put a plan forward so that you can elevate and join your higher self or join those people that you may be seeing that are succeeding and maybe you're wondering why you're not. This could be the reason why. Also, another thing that came through, well, because I've also pulled my new oracle deck. This is the Rebel oracle deck, and the answers are very raw, dirty, and straightforward. There's lots of cussing, so if you don't like that, sorry. I like to curse, and I don't know, that's just my style. So the card that I pulled there was, you're giving too many fucks. Give 0. So what this is also telling me is that maybe when it comes to the 7 of Cups, maybe you're just have too many ideas, or maybe have too many plans or too many like things, and you're not really sure how to start, and you're just overly thinking things, and your guides are saying like, you really need to give less fucks. You need to stop worrying about what is going to go wrong, what you're going to do to mess up, things like that. Because honestly, the truth is that things are never going to work out perfectly. Things are never going to work out perfectly. You're always going to hit a bump in the road. You're always going to have setbacks and delays. The important thing is deciding when you're going to make that first step forward, when you're going to make that decision and face those challenges head on. Because anything that we want in this world, whether it be to be successful or anything manifesting our wildest dreams, are all going to be faced with challenge, because we're not only having to fight with our ego, we're having to fight with the ego of others, and that can also get in the way. But it's all about persevering and moving forward and deciding how it is that you're going to bounce back. So make a plan, set out that plan, and if something happens, if you hit a bump in the road, then you'll just cross that bridge when you get there. But the most important thing is to continue moving forward and continue to work hard towards your dreams. That is pretty much it for group number 1. So now getting into group number 2. So for group number 2, I have pulled the Lovers, the 4 of Pentacles, and the High Priestess. So naturally, the first thing that really came true is for group number 2, you may be struggling a little bit in the love department or the relationship department, and this could be platonic relationships, friendships, partnerships, whether that be at work, in school, and just in general, or romantic relationships as well. So the first message that came through for this card is that the High Priestess is telling you that if you've been kind of when it comes to the relationship department, if you've kind of been having a hunch or this inner voice or this inner feeling that something is going on or something isn't right, then chances are you're probably right, because she'll come up to remind us that it's important to listen to our inner voice. So that's just kind of confirmation that if you've been feeling something or feeling like if something is off, or maybe even something is good, maybe you're wanting to take something to the next level and you really feel it and your inner voice is telling you like go for it, then now is the time to really listen to that. And I know that it's really hard because with the high priestess, she's just solely on intuition. And she doesn't care that she doesn't have the facts. She doesn't care that she hasn't done the research, because she just knows that she has the gift of knowing. She just knows things. And she doesn't care to have evidence because her intuition has never failed her. So when you're wanting, now is the time to really think about, how am I going to have that conversation with this other person, with myself, when I really have like no evidence based off of what I've been feeling, and it's just a hunch. So the thing is to just be open in communication. You don't have to worry about having facts. All you just have to say are things like, I've been feeling this way. Have you also been feeling that way? Or I get the feeling that this, or I feel as if that, and just really opening that channel for communication to see, like, maybe you'll get the feedback from that other person and say, you know what, the truth is XYZ, and you'll just naturally have that open conversation. And if they ask, you just be like, oh, like I just have a feeling. And if they think that you're crazy, whatever, don't listen to them. If somebody becomes defensive, then that's probably just further confirmation that what you're feeling is true, and maybe they're just not ready to face that question or face that topic. So it may be kind of hard for you guys to navigate that. And but that is the advice that I can give, at least for trying to get that conversation started. This could also, when it comes to the Four of Pentacles, this is usually shows up in a reading for somebody who is trying to hold on to something for the fear that they're going to lose it. It's usually depicted as a man who has like his feet on top of pentacles. He's holding a pentacle. It talks about possession. So the question that I want you to ask yourself is whether it be a relationship or a choice or something, like, what are you holding on to simply for the fear of losing it? Maybe you've been getting the feeling that it's time to let this thing go, whatever it is, and your inner voice has been telling you that, but you're just so afraid to let it go because you're afraid of being alone, you're afraid of losing it. You have a lack mindset, which is not healthy, because if you continue to have a lack mindset, that's what the universe is going to continue to give you, is the feeling of lacking. I lack this, I lack love, I lack relationships, I lack decision making. That's just going to continue to be a pattern for you. The trick is to get out of that mindset and to be able to release and to let go, so that you can be open to receiving, because the universe can't give you a new relationship or a new path if you have clenched fists, or if you're holding on to the current relationship that you have, even though you know it may not be the best for you. The universe isn't going to be able to make those moves and move things around in order to be aligned to get you where you need to be and bring in those relationships that you need to have and learn those lessons that you need to have. Another thing that kind of came through was, because in this particular deck, you probably can't see it depending on how far away, but there's a box here in the corner. There's a box here, and there's a key sitting on the edge of there. So another thing that kind of came through was like somebody who's trying to unlock something or trying to go through, access this new level of knowledge or access this door, this gateway to move forward. And what the high priestess is telling you is that you have the key. The key is actually within you. And then now that I don't know, like another thing that's coming through is like, you might think this is the key, but who knows? Like if you picked it up and you put it in there, it might not even work. Or what if the key breaks and then you can't even open that box to find out what's in it? She's telling you that you have the key. It's inside of you. It's just a matter of you being present and listening to that inner voice to see what that key is in order for you to unlock that. Unlock that secret or that pathway. Also, the lovers can also represent choice. So there could be two paths that you're trying to take, but the high priestess is telling you it's important to listen to your inner voice at this time. That's what's really going to ground you. And another thing that is coming through is don't let people discourage you. When I look at this card, I see the serpent, and I also see Adam with his foot on the serpent, as if trying to keep him at bay and not let him get inside of our heads to tempt us with things that we're not supposed to do. So another aspect could be maybe your inner voice is being really negative right now. Maybe your inner voice is discouraging you or things like that. It's important to discern when is my inner voice trying to protect me and really have me analyze the situation and the problems that can come through for it, or when is it just my fear? Is this really my inner voice speaking to me, or am I just afraid and I'm, wanting to believe it's my inner voice just for like validation or so that I don't have to take any action? So just be mindful of that too. And then your rebel card is you need a big fucking hug, and on the back it says squeeze. So I am sending you a big virtual hug right now, and hug yourself, love yourself. I have a feeling like this decision or this relationship is maybe causing you some emotional struggle, and so I'm here. You need a hug, and I can give you a virtual hug, and maybe if there's somebody who you're in quarantine with can give you a hug, or just hug yourself. Like really just try to do that for yourself. Okay, so group number 3. We have the Hierophant, we have Strength, and we have the Seeker. So the first thing that I saw with these 3 cards is that now is the time to really focus on your spirituality and your spiritual gifts, and to really strengthen those, like strengthen your relationship with the divine, strengthen your relationship with God, strengthen your relationship with your ancestors, your spirit guides. Now is the time to really start to connect with them. And also just kind of seeking like that old, like archaic wisdom. Like the Seeker card is an added card for this deck specifically. It's not inside of traditional tarot decks, but we'll get more into him later on. Let me just make sure that I don't miss anything. When another thing that had came through was when I saw strength. Strength not only represents physical strength, but it also represents mental strength. And the bear, typically this card will show up as a woman keeping a lion under control, but in this case it's a bear. And what these animals mean are they're kind of like our animalistic impulses, the things that we just want to really act on because, you know, we're animals and we have those impulses and we act on things even though we shouldn't, even though it's not reasonable. And it's all about taming those impulses. So right now, if quarantine has you feeling a little impulsive, because you're just restless, now is the time to really focus on how to tame those things, because they may not be healthy for you completely. And if you're having trouble figuring out how it is that you can do that, then the Hierophant suggests seeking out mentorship, professional advice, and even seeking out seeking out messages from your guides and what they want to do. So and if you don't know how to do that, then you can drop a comment, let me know. Maybe I can pull some cards for you and we can figure out what the best way to handle that is for. And then also, what I see in these cards as well is somebody who is wanting to seek something out, but what you need to focus on is the strength and determining in seeing that thing through. So for example, if you're embodying the energy of the seeker, this seeker, if you look at this card, he's literally in two different dimensions. He's in this dimension, and then he's in this other like outer void that he's gained access to. And he didn't do this overnight, okay? It took studying. The Hierophant represents like an expert studying, mentorship, and giving that knowledge, passing that knowledge down from the divine onto the earth, or just from somebody who has that wisdom and passing it down to followers of him. So now is the time to really focus on studying your strength and determination to see what it is that you want to see through. And then the reason that had came through, is because your oracle card is that project, that person, that idea is waiting. Go after that shit. The world has your back. So what that advice is also giving is just going back to what I was saying. You know, that project, that person, that idea, and the way that you're going to go get it is to seek it out with determination, having the strength and the discipline, and gaining that knowledge and wisdom. And eventually you're going to tap into that other dimension, or you're going to tap into that other goal. But it's not going to happen overnight, so don't expect that. Come on, you can imagine how long it would take for somebody to tap into a different dimension, and how much they had to learn and how much they had to practice in order to finally do that. Let's see. So for group number 4, you have the Hermit, you have the 6 of Wands, and you have the 9 of Wands. So what I saw in these cards is, because the Hermit usually represents someone who is a hermit, basically, like a hermit crab. They're in their home, and he's like a major theme right now with what's going on in the world, how we're forced to be at home, we're forced to stay within ourselves and listen to our thoughts, because we don't have distractions anymore. We can't go anywhere, we can't really we're very limited to the usual distractions that we have in the everyday life. So what I'm seeing, especially with the with the Six of Wands and the Nine of Wands is that now is the time to really, once all this is over, now is the time to focus on how is it that you're going to step out of that energy and really go after what it is that you want in life. In these cards, I see somebody who has great potential. They have great potential, but they're so afraid of like coming out there, like being vulnerable and being exposed to the world, that is what kind of holds them back. And you have the potential to be a great leader. The Six of Wands is all about leadership and recognition, and you have the potential to do that, but it starts with coming out of your shell and showing the world what it is that you're made of, and showing the world all of the great ideas that you have and all of the things that you can bring to the table. Now, with the Nine of Wands comes as a warning that when you do that, you need to really practice on how to be vulnerable, how people are going to maybe shoot down your ideas or maybe tell you that you're crazy or no, that's not how you do it or things like that. When it comes to this card, one thing that I noticed is in this card, the ground is cracking. So I don't know if there's an earthquake going on here, but the ground is very uneven. There's other staves or wands in the background, and there's one that stands out in the front very obviously. So what that is saying is like when the opportunity arises, when things get crazy, when the ground like starts to shake around you and everybody is kind of like taking a step back, that's an opportunity for you to step forward and be like, hey, I know how to keep things under control. I know how to keep things handled, even when things seem a little bit chaotic or uneven or the foundation is kind of breaking. That's always an opportunity to show what is it you're made of, what leadership skills that you have, and things like that. So also another thing that came through is that you have to learn how to really have the stamina. For someone who's a hermit, they may be quick to give up. They may be quick to like, maybe they step out and then they're like, ooh, yeah, I'ma head out. And like you go back into your little hut, you should close the doors, close the blinds, and then you're like in your comfort zone. You really need to learn how to get out of your comfort zone. Now is the time to do that. And I know that can, there's a lot of us who the reason that we're that way is because coming out of our shell and being exposed and being vulnerable brings a lot of anxiety out in us, and you know, and I do want to be sensitive to people who have issues with anxiety or have issues with being vulnerable. And your rebel deck is ask a fucking expert. Don't rely on your friends or the internet. Listen to a damn professional. So that is what's going to help you maneuver that anxiety or maneuver that way of really coming out and coming out of your shell and just really being more out there with the craziness, showing everybody what it is that you're made of. And now you don't, when I read this card, I of course I'm thinking of all of the people that don't have access to professionals. Like professionals, when it comes to therapists or anything like that, they can cost like thousands of dollars. And I know that a lot of us are not in a position to really fork out that money to seek that professional help. So let me tell you a little bit of a story. When I was in college and I wanted to pursue a career path, what I started doing is I started reaching out to people online, like through email, and I would just introduce myself and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. I see that you are an expert in this field or you're a leader in this field. I would really love to schedule maybe like a 10 to 15 minute phone call to maybe ask you some questions or whatever advice it is that you have for me moving forward in this path that I'm choosing to take, and things like that. And honestly, most of them were happy talk with me, to speak with me, because these leaders are all about that. That's what they love to do. They love to talk about their career field. They love to talk about what they do. They love to give advice to people and talk about the things that they've learned. So that's what this could be about. Ask a fucking expert. Don't listen to your friends. Your friends are going to give you mixed messages. They're probably going to tell you what you think you want to hear. They're going to encourage you. And somebody that you don't know, that professional, is going to tell you the hard truth. And the hard truth and the reality of whatever it is that you want to endeavor. That's what happened with me. They were like, well, it really takes this kind of person to do this job, or it takes this to do that, and then that's why that's why the Nine of Wands is really gonna come through, is because you're probably gonna receive a lot of that. But it's up to you to process that information and to really decide, you know what, I'm not going to let that discourage me. That's right, that's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I'm willing to face. That's what this card really embodies too, is facing challenges head on, even when we're bruised, even when we're, beat up a little bit, we get back up on our feet and we're still ready to face that next challenge. Through all of that, we become a new version of ourselves. We become leaders. We become somebody that people want to follow, and things like that, and it becomes something to celebrate later on. And now is the time to really focus on the last question that I feel like you should be really asking yourself, is how can you become a better you? Well, that is pretty much it. I really hope that these messages resonated with you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification button so you're always staying in the know with what's going on in the videos that I post. And also, I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. Let me know how you feel about these messages, and if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you want me to go back to how I would usually do things. I don't know, I just thought I'd switch it up. This is all new to me. I thought it'd be kind of cool. But, alright guys, well, I hope that you guys have a lovely weekend. I hope that I've given you a lot to think about. I hope that it was valuable. And thank you again so much for watching and spending time with me. Until next time, bye-bye.